Every kid grows up wanting to be an actor. It's easy for execs to find people that'll just chase the golden carrot around.
So we're both being put through the Hunger Games in these interviews.
Damn, I really want this job. I should be grateful that I'm hot.
What's the situationship between you and Jacob?
We've been talking, but I'm not really sure where his head is.
He's friend zoning you?
I'm sorry I didn't text you back. Working on boundaries with the therapist.
Boundaries?
I don't know, I think I just want to be cool and not scare him off.
Don't get too attached. We know you're romantic at heart.
I just want to see where this goes.
I think I need like a yes or a no.
I like you.
I like you too.
Baby, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to keep loving.
I am not that guy, I promise. I know I got a lot of problems, but I am not that guy.
It's LA, baby. You gotta suffer your way to the top.
Chasing dreams and getting fucked.
Welcome to the Longest Take podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the Longest Take podcast. In today's episode, we are joined by writer-director Erin Brown Thomas and cinematographer Beth Napoli. They both worked together recently on the TV proof of concept Chasers, which was accepted into Sundance 2025. It's an awesome and ambitious project. It's a 30-minute oneer that focuses on the interpersonal relationships and ambitions of Sophia, played by Sierra Crone, who also co-wrote the script. Thank you for tuning in and hearing what other projects they have in store for us. All right, so to kick this off, for both of you, what are your top 5 favorite movies?
Beth, can you go first?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick just 5. And I like different movies for different reasons, but I guess like the 5 that I always go back to and like I have to watch at least once a year probably, is To Kill a Mockingbird, E.T., Back to the Future, Little Women, and probably Rear Window. I don't know, it's really hard to pick just 5. But like a lot of them like have a sense that like they're very nostalgic to me, you know? So like I grew up watching them, so I always want to go back to them.
That's good. I'm like literally pulling up Letterboxd right now because I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I know which one? I reserve the right to change my mind anytime I want on my top 5. But the one movie that's always in my top 5, no matter what my mood is Magnolia. I love Magnolia. It's an exquisite piece of filmmaking. And I love the themes in it. And it's continued to mean so much to me for like 2 decades. Another one that stuck with me for a really long time is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. On like the independent side, there's a film that really got under my skin called The Fits that came out in 2015, I want to say. Super small movie, beautiful. I really love 21 Jump Street. And like, it's just sort of my, like, I used to think of it as like guilty pleasure movie. And I was like, no, it's like legitimately great. It's just commercial. And I don't know why. Sometimes it feels like we're not allowed to watch commercial or like care about commercial films, but I care about some commercial films and I love 21 Jump Street. I really also love A Ghost Story by David Lowery. Is that 5? Or was that 4?
I think that was 5. I don't know. I
Okay.
didn't. Wait, we
Those
had.
movies are all great, and I could talk about many more, I'm sure.
Yeah. The Fits. I haven't heard of that one. What's it about?
It is about, so there's a young girl who wants to be a part of this like dance troupe, and she's kind of a tomboy, and it's like a very like popular girls sort of dance troupe, and the most popular girl in it has like a seizure, and then everyone else starts having seizures, and it kind of explores this idea of how like group mentality and group think works, but there's like a little bit of a magical edge to it too. So yeah, I don't know, it's about the power of suggestion and the power of community and the power of dance, which I'm always into, the power of dance. Yeah, it's just a weird little movie that got under my skin a long time ago, and every once in a while, like I just sit someone down and make them watch it. It's only 71 minutes. It has amazing cinematography. And typically I do gravitate to movies that look very beautiful and have wonderful cinematography, which is why I have to work with such a great cinematographer like Beth.
Speaking of which, have either of you seen The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
like I embarrassingly haven't, but I know it's supposed to be great.
It's just a very beautiful looking movie. A lot of just sweeping nature shots and everything. Yeah, that's a good one. And I noticed, Beth, you had one contemporary movie on there, Little Women, right? That's
90s version.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking, okay, so never mind.
Yeah, I've seen Greta Gerwig's, and I still love the 90s. I mean, I grew up watching that with my sisters. Like, we used to read Little Women aloud as a family. But yeah, we watch it every Christmas, and like I still, cry when Beth dies, not because it's my namesake, but
Right.
I don't know, I love that movie.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I didn't know that there was a 90s version, but yeah, I need to.
Oh, another Rider version? You've never seen it? Oh,
Yeah, no, I gotta check it out.
gotta
Though.
put that on the list.
Yeah, that and The Fits, I gotta check those out. For sure.
Great.
But so this question's gonna be for you, Erin. So, I know you've talked before about your goal for Chasers, and just some other things you've worked on. Is there a full feature that you perhaps have written or in pre-production on, or do you have a goal at some point for that?
I've written I think 7 features, 4 of which I'm actively like still interested in making, and one of which I'm putting more of my focus. There are 3 features that like could be my first feature, but the one that's the most probable, that I'm choosing to put most of my time into looking for money for, simply because it's the least expensive, is a feature called The Body of Chris. It's similar to Chasers in that it's contained location wise, but it has a big ensemble cast. It also starts like a comedy and slowly becomes a drama that punches you in the gut. That's one of the things that I really like to do with movies, is like disarm people, get them like comfortable with like laughing, and then suddenly like, ouch. So The Body of Chris does that. It's a comedy that takes place in a church that kind of, I like to think of it as a faith deconstruction and reconstruction comedy. What I mean by that is it definitely picks apart the American industrialized church system, but in a way that's like earnest and isn't totally cynical, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you, I don't know what your faith is now, but are you tapping into something that you've personally experienced with that reconstruction that you're talking about?
Yeah. I was a theology major in college, and always, like, for the longest time thought that I would just work in a church, and like that's what I wanted to do. I thought that was the way to make the world better. And No shade to anyone that's doing that, like more power to you. But it just kind of felt like I felt limited in that context, especially as a female, and kind of realized that I think in this day and age, one of the greatest ways to make a difference in people's lives is to tell stories, because the stories that we tell ourselves over and over again become part of the fabric of who we are as individuals, but also as communities. And so, yeah, and I'm also quite disillusioned with the American church, and it's like it being so intertwined with Christian nationalism. You know, not to get political on a podcast, but maybe I kind of just went there. Yeah, I found all that very frustrating, and my faith is still incredibly important to me. And so I find ways of being subversive in ways that feel authentic to my faith, that might still challenge the church to look differently than it tends to in the United States.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, you just mentioned politics, but I'm pretty sure that I align with you, so you don't have to worry about
I mean,
that.
I don't know how your listeners are feeling, and listen, don't tune out. We've got, don't tune out. You know, just
right. We have more politics to talk about. We're gonna get all controversial now. No, that's cool though. It's always cool to tap into something like that, because just from a, I don't know, from a conceptual and even like a character development standpoint, faith is always something that the characters could be such a strong element. So exploring that must be a hell of a time writing. So I hope you get to work on that soon.
Me too. And if you're listening and that sounds good to you, just say hello and we can talk.
Yeah, there you go. Now this question's for Beth. So recently through our correspondence, it was brought up that you were filming Coachella. I don't know, I can't remember when that was. I'm all the way out here in the Midwest, so I don't know when that stuff happens. But what would you say, like, what you like about it and what you dislike about it, and how would you compare it to like set shoots and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, this was my first time doing this type of filmmaking. Definitely first time in that kind of a live environment, and it kind of surprised me. It surprised me and also didn't surprise me how much I liked it, because, well, I was a camera operator, just to put that out there, so I was not involved in like the creative decisions or like the pre-production process or the post-production process. I was there on site filming one of many cameras on the main stage, but it really feels like it's almost like you're part of a sports team, because there's like a live director and like everybody has their role, and like some camera roles are more flashy than others, like Steadicam. Like anytime they go to Steadicam, everybody's like so wowed by that shot. But like, yeah, I just love that like in the moment, anything can happen. Team building, team camaraderie, and like the reason I say it kind of makes sense is because like in high school, one of the things that pushed me to like explore photography more was the fact that I got cut from the basketball team.
Oh, no.
So like, I was, doing summer camps. I was like really into it, and it was kind of gut wrenching when I got cut. So I was like, I need to find something that I can feel like I'm contributing to in like a meaningful way. And that's when I started because I was always into art and I was always into films. But I started taking photography classes and like taking film noir classes at the local art museum. And, it just kind of like grabbed me, and like I found my place, my footing on that. So, but yeah, I don't know. Like I definitely still like am primarily focused on film and TV, but would totally be open to shooting live environments again. So
yeah. And you said this was your first time with Coachella, First time
Yeah.
doing that live type thing. What about being able to do that again, but being able to like direct it too, right? So you said you were just the operator, but you know.
Yeah, no, the person, I won't name names, but the person who is the director was amazing. He's been doing it for a really long time. I don't know if that's a role I'd want to step into. I definitely, I mean, there are DPs in that live environment, but it kind of changes based on who the performing artist is. Like they, there's different lighting directors, and it's formatted differently in that environment than what I'm used to. So
Yeah, that's fair. Still cool. Nice. It's so cool that something like that, you have so many options that it doesn't get stale, or I would hope it wouldn't, because like on one hand you're doing movies and shows, the other you're filming a concert live. There's just a lot of opportunity. Great. For this next question for both of you, so Chasers is a 30-minute oneer. Is it a true oneer, or like were there hidden cuts in there, or did you do fully all one shot? This is what I want at first. Okay. How many cuts are there?
Cuts. Aaron knows better than I do.
We typically don't tell people how many cuts there were, because we found some that were unplanned.
Okay.
In post, like, it was like, gosh, I wish I could use the beginning of this and the end of that. And then we just tried to see if we could make it happen with visual effects. And I was not the visual effects supervisor on this, but I was one of the 2 VFX artists, and I was learning VFX through doing this. And I took it upon myself to try some of these crazy VFX ideas where it was like, could I combine these 2 shots? And I figured it out a couple times. I'll just say that. But I will say, we filmed this over 4 nights. So it was planned to not be what people like to call a true oneer. And we could have basically, we knew we had 4 nights of shooting in our budget, and we could have either planned to do it all as a oneer and just kept going and going and going until we had it, or we could do it the way we did. And I'm glad we did it the way we did, particularly because we wanted to give Chasers a certain kind of look. Beth is extraordinary with lighting, and I had so many reference images in my deck that, Chasers is all at night. It has like sort of a neon look. We had things from like Spring Breakers or Euphoria or Do Revenge. I don't know, there's probably a number of other shows we could think of. The Idol. Even we had all these references, and in order to achieve that look, while we mostly used practicals because the camera's looking everywhere, there were certain times where we wanted a little bit of neg fill, or we wanted to have some studio lights in. And by planning VFX transitions certain places, we were able to achieve the look in those particular moments that we really wanted. And it would have been nearly impossible without doing that. So at the end of the day, doing long takes is really great for actors. I feel like what you lose in the ability to, craft a performance in post, you more than make up for in the performance just being better. That being said, when you're doing nighttime, unlike a show like, there have been a lot of like talk about adolescence and stuff. And surely adolescents did some amazing things in the episode that was all inside with their lighting grid and shifting things around. But I will say, like, they were mostly in the day. And because we were not in the day, because we were at night, and because we wanted a super stylized look, it just made more sense for us to plan a couple hidden cuts, as well as, we have a pool scene where someone gets in the pool, and we shot in like 30-degree weather at night. So we also planned a cut around making sure that we would only have them jump in once at the very end of where we had a VFX plan, and that we would just keep doing takes until we got to the point where she was allowed to jump in. So there were reasons like that for us that were safety and based on the way we wanted it to look, that we planned some cuts, and then we found a few hidden cuts.
Awesome. And What would you say on average? What was the shot length? I guess I don't know how to ask it.
The planned shot length, they tended to be like 6-ish minutes,
which is still insane. And yeah, that's still awesome. That's 6 minutes that's a lot of time. People might not realize, but that's a lot of time.
I mean, in particular, like, there's certain places where you just know we definitely didn't cut. There's long scenes between our leads that are like uninterrupted, where there's no possible place we would have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what kind of technology could have allowed for any kind of cut in those circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah. So what were some of the biggest challenges from the camera side and from the directing side?
Why don't you start, Beth?
Yeah, I mean, from the camera side, just being able to, do a lot of rehearsals helped a lot. Like, we had full access to the location for days before. And, it was a real challenge, like Erin said, to light at night in that environment. I mean, luckily, like, it takes place during a party, so it makes sense that there's lots of different kind of colored lighting in that environment. But we did have some scenes out on the street at night and in the backyard that the location was amazing, but unfortunately it didn't have a lot of existing light on the street or in the backyard that we could just tap into. So pretty much everything you see was brought in. And we didn't have the budget for like balloon lights and stuff like that. So that was a challenge. But we with all the LEDs available now, and like we set an LED on a battery like far in the distance, we made it work. And we had an amazing gaffer, Zach, who got into the pool and put in some Hydroflex lights. And, we worked with our production designer, and he put light sources, everywhere we could. And then, of course, we hid movie lights where we weren't going to see. But doing those rehearsals let me figure out, like, okay, we're never going to look over here. We can put a key light coming from over here. There was basically one side of the house we never looked at, which was great. So, yeah. And just like, going from outside to inside, back outside, like you're seeing a huge field of view. So like, that's just something you don't necessarily think of until you're in the rehearsal, what else? Also like the idea of like wanting to change lenses, you kind of have to commit to a lens. I mean, we did have zooms, which we used for portions, but we also had these really fun primes, the Clavius primes, that we wanted to transition to as our lead characters, mindset changes. So like we were doing, I was zooming in on a shot or zooming out on a shot in certain moments. And yeah, just like, I always want to go in tighter for coverage, so that the urge to do that was always there. But, working with Hayden, our amazing Trinity op, he really found places where it would make sense. And we worked with the actors on the blocking, where it would make sense to get it in tighter, and then come back out, if there was a line. So, we didn't want to miss a line if we're in tight. So it's just playing that dance on the blocking between camera and actors was challenging but fun.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really great point in that when you're working with an operator, it's not just about their technical ability. It's about their sense of storytelling. And one of the reasons Beth and I really love working with Hayden is that he approaches the camera operating really from the perspective of understanding the story. And as Beth was saying, he would find ways to motivate these changes in blocking. I mean, of course, Beth and I are also working with him. It's a conversation between all of us, but actors sometimes, do something slightly different from scene to scene, and he had good instincts to capitalize on that. And one of the things that he really doubled down on was the camera motion never comes before the actor motivates it. And he found ways to get into those close-ups that all felt like the actor or the character was making it happen, rather than the commentary of let's go close because this is emotional. In terms of what I found challenging as a director, beyond the things that Beth has shared, I think the toughest thing about long takes is keeping all your notes in your head. Traditionally, when you are doing coverage, it's okay to look away from the monitor for a second or away from the action for a second to write down a note. But when you're doing long takes with the intention of not cutting, you really don't want to take your eyes off the monitor for more than a millisecond, because if something happens in that frame that would have otherwise made the shot like unusable, you might miss it. And so not only are you not able to really look down and make notes because you can't cut around mistakes, you have to retain all of that information in your head for the duration of the shot, which, like I said, I think we had shots that were over 7 minutes long. And so figuring out how to keep every single note in my head that was important to give to the actors, and then giving those notes and then delivering them in ways that inspired the actors. As an actor, I mean, like stepping into an actor's point of view for a second, actors love to receive the kind of feedback that makes them feel collaborative and makes them feel like you're working towards something becoming great. And so you have to be very careful when you're delivering a lot of notes that it doesn't come across like, oh my God, I'm doing this terribly. Our actors were incredible. And if I had 5 notes for an actor, it wasn't indicative of their not doing a good job. It was indicative of this is 7 minutes long. So finding a way to be really positive, to keep everyone's spirits up and keep all that information in my head so that we could keep getting closer and closer and closer as we went. That was the challenge that I honestly kind of didn't really fully see coming until we were there filming. But it is also, I think, one of the things that made me love the process so much. It was a really fun thing to push myself to be so incredibly present with the material, and I definitely want to do it again.
Yeah, that's awesome. What kind of camera were you using for this shoot?
We are on the Red Raptor.
Red Raptor, okay. And did you need a focus puller for that, or?
Yep, we have an amazing focus puller, Jennifer Lai. She went to the same school as I did, and we've been friends for many years. So
awesome. Yeah, because I know just from personal experience, I've done a project with just a Canon C80, I think, and yeah, without a focus puller or anything, it really sucks trying to do long takes.
Oh yeah, and like it's different every time, right? With I mean, it tries to be the same as much as possible, but yeah, like when you're making these small adjustments, it's going to be a little different every time. So yeah, I have to hand it to Jennifer for it must have been, it was challenging, I'm sure.
And not only was it, challenging because it was a oneer and because the blocking can't be completely pinned down, like you can't always know how many millimeters or inches someone is away, but also because we were working in low light circumstances, so her aperture was very open. I mean, I remember the street scene, I think we were like at a 2, so it was quite a challenge, and she rose to it beautifully.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Erin, Chasers, you want it to be a series, right? You want to kind of kick off a series with it.
Yeah.
What is your goal with it? And I don't think this is the case, but I want to ask it. Were you ever thinking of like pursuing episodes in the same way you did this one, like in lieu of like adolescence, like you mentioned a little bit ago? Like, did you want to hit each episode with such like ambition from the camera side?
Absolutely. There's, I mean, when you make a proof of concept or a pilot, what it's saying is everything that makes this great is what's going to make every single other episode great. And so we, not to fully go into it too much, but we envision every episode. And when I say we, I mean myself, Sierra, who co-wrote this with me, and then Olivia Haller, who is a development producer on the project. The three of us spent a lot of time together thinking, how would we expand this world? And we love the idea of continuing to tell the stories of different people from the pilot while still following Sophia's overarching journey over the course of 4 seasons at this point that we have planned. Every episode is a oneer, every episode is in another location, and every episode follows one of these chasers' pursuits for success, belonging, or authenticity, and the compromises, and shows the compromises that they're making in these pursuits and the little white lies they tell themselves in order to make meaning out of their exploitation. So we love doubling down on this idea of kind of LA as a bad boyfriend and expanding the world from starting in the fringes of the entertainment industry, as season 1 is, right? We're at like an industry party, moving into bringing health and wellness and activism and even the culty feeling of the self-help culture, and expanding into all of that over the course of seasons to really paint LA. It's really like it's like a love letter to LA that's also like, I love you so much, but you only like me in return.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Waves by Trey Edward Schultz? I think that's
it's so interesting. I need to see it, and Sierra is in it.
Really?
And I've told so many people I have so many movies that like are on my watch list, and that's like very actually near the top of my watch list, because I love the character, she's in Euphoria, Alexa Demi, and she's supposed to be in that. Sierra got to act with her in Waves, and so anyway, I haven't, but tell me what you were gonna say about it.
So it's now that you bring, I'm gonna rewatch it, and I'll look out for Sierra in it, even though I haven't seen Chasers yet. But aesthetically, with what I've seen about Chasers, it reminds me a lot of Waves, and that could just be because I loved Waves. But there's a couple house party sequences, and with the cinematography that Trey Edward Schultz always goes with, it kind of, it has that almost steady cam, longer takes type of vibe to it, and there's like neon lighting at some of these house parties, so it just aesthetically it reminds me of what it seems that Chasers is doing. So you definitely should watch it.
I gotta see it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Plus it's in Florida, and so much of our Chasers team has Florida connections.
Oh really? Yeah, Miami, right? I'm guessing Waves is. Yeah, definitely check that, especially now that your star is that as well.
Yeah.
So continuing with more director questions, who's a dream performer that you would love to work with on a project?
Oh my goodness, there are so many, and that's great. It's like I'm like constantly making lists, but I'll focus on people that I actually like kind of know. I years ago cut a series for Snapchat, and Lucas Gage was in it. And this was kind of, I'm sure he had been acting for a really long time, but it was before I think he was more of a name. And because I was editing it, I got to see all the dailies, and I just thought, who is this guy? Like, he is so talented. And I definitely, DM'd him after that, and have kind of been like internet friends with him ever since, and it's been really fun to watch his star rise when he was on like White Lotus and You and a host of other things. But he's someone I've messaged him so many times saying, one day I'm going to work with you, but as a director, not as an editor. And so I hope to make that happen one day. I don't have a particular project in mind yet, but he's just someone that I think is just so exciting to watch. And like I said, the editors know when every single take comes in great. But then on like the Friends side of things, I saw a movie called Beast years ago that just all of the actors in that cast really captured me. And I did get to work with Daniel Rashid on Chasers, but I still have to work with my friends Shirley and Will, who are both in that. They're two people who both of them know I'm dying to work with them on something. And then mutual friends with all of them, we have a friend, Jim Cummings, who has made many movies as a filmmaker, but I also want to work with him as an actor someday. He is so good with transitions. He knows how to find these moments where a character has like a shift. And because of that, he's great with monologues. I love writing monologues. And so, yeah, I mean, those are a couple people that are just actually with it, like people I've actually had conversations with that I definitely have a goal of working with all of them on some project one day.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I mean, I told you before this interview, I love Jim Cummings. So the more you can do with him, that would be awesome. And
Jim, if you're listening, we were talking about all your awesome oneers.
yeah, and I can't wait to watch those. I had no idea, and I thought I was a fan of his, and I hadn't seen those.
You didn't know that. You didn't even know all the oneers. You
No.
just knew the studio movie.
Yep.
No, you gotta get deep into his portfolio.
I will. And Lucas Gage, funnily enough, had no idea who that was until Smile 2 and Companion.
Oh, and see, I haven't seen either of those.
Smile 2 it opens with a oneer, and it's like maybe 5 minutes, but it's so good. It's the best part of the movie. Just pull it up and just watch that, and then if you have time, you could watch the rest. But that opening oneer is incredible.
I need to watch Smile, and I guess Smile 2. The creator of Smile I found this out at my 20-year high school reunion. A bunch of people came up to me and was like, do you know Parker? Do you know Parker? And I was like, no, why? And I guess someone I went to high school with is his cousin. And so they were just like, you're in Hollywood, y'all know each other. And I'm like, listen, we'll probably eventually meet. Hollywood's small. But again, it's a very long watch list, but Smile's definitely been on the watch list. It obviously really made an impression on a lot of people out here. And I did though enjoy his cameo on The Studio. Shout out to The Studio if we're talking about oneers. And for those of you who are listening who don't know what I'm talking about, there's a show on Apple called The Studio. They have every scene as a oneer, but the director of Smile comes in to take a meeting on a derivative take on Smile for this studio executive who is like the star of the show, played by Seth Rogen, and it's a very funny episode.
Yeah. Parker Finn sounds great, and The Studio is amazing. And that one episode in particular where they're trying to shoot a oneer and it's shot as a oneer, it's hilarious. But funnily enough, just earlier today, I interviewed Kevin Kepi. He played one of the creatures in Smile.
Oh, cool.
So I don't want to spoil anything too much, but he's not like the main entity because it like transforms, but one of them, it's called Nightmare Mom. He played like that creature. It's just he's very tall, long black hair, and just looks creepy. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny that we talk about Parker, and yeah, I just talked to that guy earlier. Sounds like a great filmmaker there.
Yeah, making a splash for sure.
Yeah, and Beth, when it comes to projects that come your way, I'm not familiar with the process of like someone just calls you up, hey, you wanna do camera? If someone sends you like a note in the mail, but what gravitates you to join projects? Like, what are you interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely starts with the script. If it's a story that I haven't told yet, or if it's like a character study, or it's a really unique take on something, that's always interesting to me. And then definitely the director. Like, I'll always want to work with Erin. So anytime Erin asks me, I'm going to say yes. But yeah, also like if it's a director I haven't worked with, going back to like, if they have a unique vision or take on something, or they want to approach something, in an alternative way. But yeah, I'm definitely drawn to tackling projects that I haven't done. I haven't done something in them before. So if it's a new genre, or like when Erin asked about shooting a oneer, that was the first time I'd ever shot been asked to shoot a oneer. So
at least of that length. We'd done like oneers as scenes, but never like as a full.
Yeah. But like, you know, through like weaving through a location, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, I was like, yeah, I'm totally game. Like, that sounds awesome. So yeah, and I definitely love, you know, projects that have a lot of world building to them. You know, like we really like either through the production design or the time and place. Those are really fun.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm glad that you're somebody who hears the challenge of a oneer and it inspires you, as opposed to people who I've experienced in the past where it's like, I want to do this, and they're like, why? Is that necessary? Like, what's the point? So that's.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it's in service of the story, you know, and it makes sense, then why not? Like, why not have a unique take on how you want to do something, if it's going to tell a story better?
Absolutely. And for both of you, and you brought up Sierra not too long ago. So in your interview that you guys did with Stay Macro, I think it was for Sundance, Sierra mentioned something to the effect of likening a oneer to theater work. And I was just curious if either of you have any sort of theater experience.
I'll go for it first because it's super short. I don't like the limit to my theater experience was like ballet in grade school. So
yeah, well, there you go.
I do have theater experience, and now is probably a good time to give Sierra a shout out as well. Sierra is the lead in Chasers. She co-wrote the script with me. She was an EP on the project. She's a force. We love her. Check her out. But yes, so Sierra, you know, the reason that she and I met is staged readings. I was taking the feature Body of Chris to a cold read series where and that particular feature really could be a play. Like it could be with a few changes made into a play. So it's been a really great one to do some staged readings of. She was randomly assigned at this cold read by like the organizers of it to it. And I got to hear her read this part. And that's kind of when I became a little enamored with her years ago and have worked with her twice since. But you know, and I got to see her do theater here in LA. She played 11 in the Stranger Things experience here in LA. So but I myself grew up doing it. I, you know, did plays at church, plays in high school, and always loved acting. And even in college, I did a lot of theater. We would do these like 24-hour theaters where, you know, it's so funny. In film, directing is my favorite thing. In theater, acting is my favorite thing, and then writing is in the middle for both of them. So like in film, it's like directing, writing, acting, and then in theater, it's like acting, writing, directing. And I think it's maybe just being a control freak. You know, the actor has like so much control in theater that it's really exciting. But we did kind of look at theater as an inspiration for Chasers because of the oneer aspect of it, in that like the actors did have a little bit more power. Like if they wanted to change something up a little bit, like they'd have to change it up in a massive way for me to want to like be like, shoot, no, we're stop, right? But also it's just the idea of like, it's live, like I feel like everyone like really brings their A game when it's theater, because it's like everyone's watching, and it feels that way with the oneer. And it's not just the actors, but it's also your sound mixer. It's also your Steadicam op. It's even me, like, to like throw myself under the bus here for a second. Like one of the takes I ruined because I was following around with the Teradek, like my monitor, and I walked too fast and rounded the corner too fast and ended up in a shot. So, and I was like, whoops. Shoot, we're like 5 minutes into this one shot, and I was like, oh, I can see myself. So everyone's got to be on, but it's really exciting in that way. Yeah,
that's awesome. And when I don't want to talk too much about this, but I casted a short and it's just 2 leads and it's a oneer, but one of my prerequisites was theater experience, because it's just, setting something up like this, I always thought of it kind of like how you would do a stage play, because there's no cuts. You're kind of there's a choreography to it, like your like stage movement. So that definitely, I think that's a key element to it. Helps when you understand theater, I guess, is what I'm saying. That's good. Another thing with that panel that I mentioned, so they talk about true oneers. Do either of you have a particular true oneer that you love, or you got a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely several films. I mean, maybe not the entire film's oneer, but there's like specific scenes that are oneers. I always think of Touch of Evil and I Am Cuba. I mean, those even today are still technologically very impressive, but for back then it was crazy. And then I love the scene. I love Atonement. Like, it's one of my favorite movies for cinematography. But yeah, the scene on the beach in Dunkirk, I think is just beautiful.
It's a beautiful scene, and the music is so beautiful in that moment as well. Everything works together. I really love like the OK Go music videos that are oneers in general, like just to get whimsical for a second. But we were also earlier talking about Jim Cummings' The Robbery, and that I know that they did that as a true oneer. There's makeup involved, and like there's like a shooting arrows thing that they had to figure out. It's real delight, and it's online. You can just look it up, The Robbery. Jim Cummings, if you want to see it. I don't know, it's probably like 10-12 minutes. I don't know off the top of my head, but just a real fun comedy that I recommend. Yeah.
There's this one film that I wonder if you guys have it here. Have either of you seen Russian Ark?
Everyone has told me to watch this,
Everybody...
but I haven't watched it yet.
So it's not like a conventional movie. Like, I guess it does kind of have a plot, but they're just going through a museum, and every room of the museum, I think, it's supposed to be some point in history. So like massive set pieces of like hundreds of years ago, some ballet, but yeah, if you hear oneers, you usually hear about Russian Ark. But it's funny you mentioned I Am Cuba and Touch of Evil, because I've got both of those somewhere too.
Classics.
Yeah. If I hear something has a long take, I'm kind of obsessed. So if you ever do a Chasers Blu-ray or 4K, I mean, I'm gonna probably try to seek that out for my collection too. But I just true oneers, and just even oneers in the vein of like how you say Chasers is, and like Birdman, that's still just so impressive. If it was up to me, I would ask everything to be a oneer or a longer take. We're talking like Bellatar type of cinematography there.
Yeah.
Erin, kind of touched on this a little bit ago, but did you get any pushback when you were pulling this project together?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's only one person that really asked me to truly make sure that I wanted to do it as a oneer, but they hadn't read the script. And so I was at Evolution Mallorca, which is a great film festival in Mallorca, Spain. And they were presenting Eric Messerschmidt, who is an Academy Award-winning DP, with a special like Icon Award for cinematography. They were also showing his new movie, The Killer, which he had done with Fincher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so he and I, like, the wonderful thing about this festival is that, I mean, we got it was small enough that the filmmakers really got to spend time with some of the high profile guests. And I spent a number of evenings talking with him about this project. And at the very beginning of him kind of giving me some mentorly advice, he was kind of referencing Hitchcock, Hitchcock maybe thinking that Rope was one of his lesser favorite films because of how limiting the scope of a oneer is, and wanted me to make sure that it really served the story. And then I kind of explained to him why I wanted to do the choice of a oneer and how I really felt like it put you at the party. It also allowed all of the vignettes to feel more tied together rather than random. And so then at that point, he gave me advice from the perspective of, okay, you're shooting a oneer. Here's some things that I would recommend. Here's things to think about. But he definitely wanted to make sure that I wasn't just doing it as a gimmick. And that's something I would absolutely instill to other people as well. Like, I'm a programmer for a film festival, and like I've seen many oneers that don't work, or that don't, or just feel like, why are you doing this as a oneer? It just could have been better. Particularly comedy. Like, if there's not a reason to do a comedy as a oneer, you have to realize you're sacrificing a lot by making by removing the possibility of like cutting for performance, because comedy is so performance and timing driven, and the ability to futz with that in post is a real asset. But if you're looking to establish a certain tone, a oneer can really help add a layer of suspense or add a layer of drama to something that is really exciting. And like I said, oneers are often more exciting if they assist in building an incredible performance, and if they put you in the environment that you're going to be in. I mean, if you look at 1917, it really puts you in the perspective of what it would feel like to have been in the war that day. And I think there's something really powerful about that. Like, when I vividly recall that movie, and I'm not someone who enjoys war movies, but being like, I feel like, okay, I was there along with this person. I think it's also great for fight sequences if you can do it well. People always talk about the Daredevil fight sequence. My husband loves that fight sequence, the one in the hallway. It can be great for dance as well. Both dance and fight, often when they're over edited, it sometimes feels like people are just hiding choreography behind intensity. And I love being able to actually see what happens, you know, being a little bit wider and just choreographing the camera around human choreography is really pleasing and wonderful. And so that was the approach we really took with Chasers, is like, the whole thing is choreography. You know, the entire movie is a bit of choreography. And I think Beth said something really great on our macro panel, and she can, you know, if you have anything to add, Beth, you can. But the thing that I remember you saying is, like, when Hitchcock said that rope was limiting, well, we have a lot more tools today. And Hitchcock, if he was here today with all the tools that are available to us, he might want to dive right back into a oneer and give it another go.
That's exactly what I said. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see what he would do with the tools today. That's why, yeah, I don't think it's it's not a fair comparison, just because we have so much more at our disposal. And we're creating new ways of telling stories all the time, you know. I work a lot in immersive cinematography too, and that, I mean, it feels like the rules are like thrown out with that, and everybody's trying to figure out what the new rules are in that environment. But yeah.
Yeah. And Beth, with cinematography in general, do you have a favorite genre, or like a genre that you haven't done yet but you want to do?
I mean, I definitely gravitate towards dramas. I love historically positioned projects. I love dark comedies. I'm kind of all over the place, but I also love, like, you know, science fiction, thrillers. I haven't done any westerns. I think it'd be really cool to do a western. I really want to do a noir. And I haven't shot anything like post film school that was entirely black and white. So I'd really love to do that at some point. But yeah.
In your field, do you have a lot of experience working with like actual film cameras, or did you come in at the point of just everybody's kind of doing digital?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely learned on film, 8mm, 16mm, 35mm. I even edited 16mm on a Steenbeck, like cut and splice, which really dates me. I think we were the last class to do that because they had to fly somebody in from Detroit every time it broke. And so, that just slows down the process and it's expensive. But yeah, I mean, in grad school, I went to Florida State for grad school, and we were one of the last classes I think that shot on film. But like, it's a pretty small program for MFA. It's about 30 people, and then I think like 6 of them are writers, so the rest are production students. And as a production student, you get to declare like what your concentration is. And I chose cinematography. And I was only one of 2 DPs in my class, so we each got to shoot 3 thesis films. And one of my films was on 35, and then the other 2 were on the Red One. But yeah, it was an awesome process. And like, I wish, I mean, I still want to shoot on film. I can't say that I've done it in a while, but Erin, next time you want to shoot?
Oh, I want to shoot film for sure. We definitely should do it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was so cool, like, because we got to do a DI, and that film that I shot for my thesis on film went to Camera Homage, and they did a film out for that, and we had to fly with the film print, and we did, they did 35 projection at that point. I don't know if they still do. But yeah, film definitely has, a place in my heart. Like in undergrad, I spent so much time in the lab developing film and printing stills. So yeah, I don't want it to die.
Yeah, maybe you and Erin can do a 70mm IMAX Western. Because if you've been following Sinners, Autumn Arkapaw, she was the cinematographer on it, and it sounds like it was just an incredible technical feat for the creation of that movie, and I mean just how it turned out too.
There's a great oneer in Sinners in the middle. It's
yes,
my
I love
favorite
it.
sequence.
I still need to see it. I'm so behind on everything.
Right, Beth, it doesn't give much away. Like, it really doesn't give anything away plot-wise, but there is a oneer in the middle of the movie. It's like the midpoint. It's like the emotional high, and it's just winding its way through this party, and suddenly, like magically, there are representations of like Black, like culture, like dance and music, like just existing in this space. And it felt so beautiful. I was like on the verge of tears watching it. It was so emotionally beautiful, but it also was just really well choreographed and so much fun. And it kind of, that scene gives you a lens through which to watch the rest of the music, to know like it's a movie that's about the relationship between cultural appropriation and also cultural assimilation. And that scene, basically, if you weren't picking up on it, that's the scene that helps you see it. But because it's just so fun and weird, it doesn't feel heavy-handed. It just feels like a celebration. It's awesome.
Yeah, and Ryan Coogler, I think probably in each of his movies, maybe not Fruitvale Station, but usually has like a oneer or 2 in them. Definitely incredible. Just that whole team behind Sinners, the acting, all the performers, just, you got to go see that movie.
I got to see it this week.
That's great.
I got to see it this weekend.
See if there's a 70mm showing somewhere by you. And
I already looked it up. It's coming back after I'm going abroad, so I'm not going to be able to. Yeah, maybe someday, but I'll see it on a good projection somewhere.
Here you go. So I like to bookend these interviews with a question for both of you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And this could be whether personally, professionally, just like 5 years down the road, where are you at, kind of thing.
Well, I hope to have shot at least one of Erin's features and maybe be in like the 3rd season of Chasers.
Yeah.
But yeah, just, you know, working in film and television, and maybe creating a better work-life balance for myself by then.
Yeah, I think I'd like to have shot at least 2 features by then. That feels realistic and potentially something I could blast past. But I think at least 2 feels like that's good. I will, whether it's Chasers or something else, I definitely hope to be regularly working in television. One of the reasons I made Chasers was as a proof of concept of my own ability to step into TV, and I'm actively making inroads there right now. On the professional, that was professional. On the personal side, I would love to just be able to get into a place where I could do wonderful things for my parents. That would mean so much to me, and I'll probably have another cat by that point too. If my husband allows it.
Awesome. Yeah, so now here at the end, this is an opportunity for either of you to plug anything that might be coming soon. Any links, anything going on with you. Maybe if you want to just talk a little bit about the trajectory for Chasers at this point, playing anytime soon, all that fun stuff.
Sure. I mean, if you want to follow along with Chasers, we have an Instagram account, Chasers_film, or my own Erin Brown Thomas _filmmaker. I will post about screenings. I'm going to get better about doing it faster, but we have a couple coming up right now. We've got Dead Center, we've got Bentonville. There's others, but those are the ones I'm remembering right now. But pay attention to our Instagram. And then I also just secured my 501c3 status for the Body of Chris. So if you're someone who likes to make donations to arts organizations in order to have tax write-offs, we're raising money right now. Or if you want to invest, you can invest for the chance of making a bunch of money, or if you could just go for that tax write-off and give us some soft money, that'll help us get our next film off the ground. The Body of Chris does have a planned there's a planned oneer in it that's roughly about 20 minutes long within the movie. And it involves a really nice juicy monologue at a pivotal moment in the script. So if you have seen Chasers and liked it, or thought that it sounded cool based on this interview, then say hello. And I'll happily take your support in any way.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds good. Thank you both for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see what you have in store. Really excited to get the chance eventually to watch Chasers, and yeah, it was really great talking to you. And I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Great talking with you.
Yep.